The Lancet put out an article 2 days ago called "Counting the Dead in Gaza: Difficult but Essential." Okay? And for those of you who don't know, The Lancet is one of the world's leading medical journals. Like, it is top tier. Okay? Let's take a look. What do they got to say? By June 19th, 2024, 37,396 people had been killed in the Gaza Strip since the attack by Hamas and the Israeli invasion in October 2023, according to the Gaza Health Ministry, as reported by the UN Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs. The ministry's figures have been contested by the Israeli authorities, although they have been accepted as accurate by Israeli intelligence services, the UN, and the WHO. These data are supported by independent analyses comparing changes in the number of deaths of UN Relief and Works Agency, UNRWA, staff with those reported by the ministry, which found claims of data fabrication implausible. Collecting data is becoming increasingly difficult for the Gaza Health Ministry due to the destruction of much of the infrastructure. So this much we know already. Like, this is all just kind of laying out stuff we already know, but we're gonna get some new things going forward. The ministry has had to augment its usual reporting based on people dying in its hospitals or brought in dead with information from reliable media sources and first responders. This change has inevitably degraded the detailed data recorded previously. Consequently, the Gaza Health Ministry now reports separately the number of unidentified bodies among the total death toll. As of May 10th, 2024, 30% of the 35,091 deaths were unidentified. Some officials and news agencies have used this development to designed to improve data quality to undermine the veracity of the data. However, the number of reported deaths is likely an underestimate, which makes a lot of sense because, again, they've been just mass bombing neighborhoods and areas of Gaza, and there's no infrastructure to dig the bodies out effectively anymore. So they're likely not recovering a lot of bodies. Let's see here. The non-governmental organization Air Wars undertakes detailed assessments of incidents in the Gaza Strip and often finds that not all names of identifiable victims are included in the ministry's list. Furthermore, the UN estimates that by February 29th, 2024, 35% of buildings in the Gaza Strip had been destroyed, so the number of bodies still buried under rubble is likely substantial, with estimates of more than 10,000. Armed conflicts have indirect health implications beyond the direct harm from violence. Even if the conflict ends immediately, there will continue to be many indirect deaths in the coming months and years from causes such as reproductive, communicable, and non-communicable diseases. The total death toll is expected to be large given the intensity of this conflict. Destroyed healthcare infrastructure, severe shortages of food, water, and shelter, the population's inability to flee to safe spaces, and the loss of funding to UNRWA, one of the very few humanitarian organizations still active in the Gaza Strip. In recent conflicts, such indirect deaths range from 3 to 15 times the number of direct deaths. Applying a conservative estimate of 4 indirect deaths per 1 direct death, this is the conservative estimate, to the 37,396 deaths reported, it is not implausible to estimate that up to 186,000 or even more deaths could be attributable to the current conflict in Gaza. Using the 2022 Gaza Strip population estimate of 2,375,259, this would translate to 7.9% of the total population of the Gaza Strip. A report from February 7th, 2024, at the time when the direct death toll was 28,000, estimated that without a ceasefire, there would be between 58,260 deaths without an epidemic or escalation, and 85,750 deaths if both occurred by August 6th, 2024. So, guys, Yeah, right now. That's if the conflict ended right now, and that's a conservative estimate. A literal decimation of the people in the Gaza Strip. It's been less than a year, guys. It's been like 7 months, 8 months. It's shocking. That's worse than a decimation. I mean, a decimation would be 1 in 10. But I'm gonna guess that their conservative estimate is conservative and lowballing it. So best case, only 8% of them would be left alive, or am I not understanding it? It's saying that if there is a conservative 4-to-1 ratio of people who die as a result indirectly from the conflict, and 4-to-1 would be conservative as an estimate, that in total there will be around 186,000 dead Palestinians. That is the conservative estimate. Again, if the conflict ended like now. Yeah, decimation is a reduction of 1/10 or 10% summary execution. Yeah. It's really bad. So the Lancet continues on. An immediate and urgent ceasefire in the Gaza Strip is essential, accompanied by measures to enable the distribution of medical supplies, food, clean water, and other basic resources for human needs. At the same time, there is a need to record the scale and nature of suffering in this conflict. Documenting the true scale is crucial for ensuring historical accountability and acknowledging the full cost of the war. It's also a legal requirement. The interim measures set out by the International Court of Justice in January 2024 require Israel to take effective measures to prevent the destruction and ensure the preservation of evidence related to allegations of acts within the scope of the Genocide Convention. The Gaza Health Ministry is the only organization counting the dead. Furthermore, these data will be crucial for post-war recovery, restoring infrastructure, and planning humanitarian aid. So, just as a reading between the lines here, guys. In order to avoid like worst case scenarios, they're urging an immediate ceasefire. They're also urging, we need to send medical supplies, food, clean water. We need like the basic essentials for human life need to be there. And additionally, it's pointing out that there's been a deliberate targeting of the Gaza Ministry of Health. Again, the only organization on the ground even remotely able to like calculate how many people might be dead. Again, there's been a deliberate effort to like hide this information, to downplay any of these deliberate acts. And like it's telling because it is also a legal requirement. Well, Israel doesn't really want to be held accountable legally. So a lot of that evidence, and why it's kind of a big deal that the Lancet is putting this call to action forward, is because the Lancet is recognizing that there are a lot of inherent motivations here for Israel to cover up their crimes, because there aren't that many third-party monitoring organizations currently active on the ground to contest any narratives coming out of the Israeli state. Like, this is a huge problem. This is a huge problem. And it's one that they are, I think, very delicately putting forward for people to be aware of. It is also telling that they directly list the Genocide Convention in their statement. Again, this is not like an organization of socialists or anything. This is the Lancet. It's one of the most respected medical journals on the planet. This is not something that they would publish lightly. MM is a member of the editorial board of the Israel Journal for Health Policy Research and of the International Advisory Committee of the Israel National Institute for Health Policy Research. MM was co-chair of the Institute's 2016 Sixth International Jerusalem Conference on Health Policy, but writes in a personal capacity. He also collaborates with researchers in Israel, Palestine, and Lebanon. Also, props to the Lancet for listing Palestine as a location. That this is I'm actually very impressed by how openly pro-Palestinian this publication is. I think everyone should be pro-Palestinian, but like so many groups and orgs fall short of that very low bar. Yeah, just it is not implausible to estimate that up to 186,000 or even more deaths could be attributable to the current conflict in Gaza. And again, that's with a ratio of 4-1, but the Lancet does note here, such indirect deaths range from 3 to 15 times the number of direct deaths. If this is on the higher end of the spectrum, guys, using the numbers that they provided, which they leave you to do your own math on, but just some napkin math here. Like, if it is on the higher end of that range, we could be looking at 560,000 Palestinians losing their lives as a result of this conflict. That would be that would and again, that's based off of the numbers that are available now. That's if the conflict ended now. The longer it goes on, the more those numbers pile up. I figured it was pretty high. It's just I don't have words for you either. Like, this is wild. And for those of you saying, "Oh, well, maybe, Israel wouldn't just cover up actual facts and data, would they?" Well, remember how not too long ago I was talking about the Hannibal Directive on stream. We talked a lot about it in our coverage of Gaza, because it kept popping up from time to time. People would mention it in passing in relation to X or Y incident, and I had to describe what that was to you. Well, it turns out, Haaretz is reporting today, the IDF ordered the Hannibal Directive on October 7th to prevent Hamas taking soldiers captive. There was crazy hysteria and decisions started being made without verified information. Documents and testimonies obtained by Haaretz reveal the Hannibal Operational Order, which directs the use of force to prevent soldiers being taken into captivity, was employed at 3 army facilities infiltrated by Hamas, potentially endangering civilians as well. So if you remember, guys, there were some reports about coming out of October 7th about the IDF seemingly firing on friendly targets or on civilian neighborhoods, etc. That would be a direct result of the Hannibal Directive being put into effect. Essentially, if soldiers are captive, the Hannibal Directive orders the IDF to do everything possible, up to and including killing them, to prevent them from being taken into custody. Meaning that anytime soldiers were taken captive and Hamas members tried to retreat back into the Gaza Strip, they would be bombed and fired upon. Likely killing both the soldier and the members of Hamas. So, we have what you are looking at here with the confirmation of the Hannibal Directive being at play is essentially confirmation that the Israeli military has been completely and utterly, as a matter of policy, comfortable with killing Israeli civilians, Israeli soldiers. The words I have for this are just not coming out. It's horrible. Wait, is this why Trump has been talking about Hannibal Lecter recently? No, I think it's completely unrelated. Yeah, I mean, like, Gaza Division's operation and airstrikes in the first hours of October 7th were based on limited information. The first long moments after the Hamas attack was launched were chaotic. Reports were coming in, with their significance not always clear. When their meaning was understood, it was realized that something horrific had taken place. Yeah, this article, I'm not gonna unlock it, but like, it's honestly insane that they're able to confirm this. Hannibal Lecter is a role model for Trump? Could be. Ugh. Yeah, exactly, Periwinkle, but it will never happen. It's just, I don't know where we go from here, but my big hope right now, and I know that this is stupid, I know that it's based on kind of a lot of my gut feelings, but I think Joe Biden is going to step down, and my hope is that if Kamala Harris steps in to replace him, we're going to get a leftward swing on policy related to Gaza. There have been some inklings, some whispers through the Biden staff and aides that Kamala Harris has a different set of priorities when it comes to Israel and Gaza. And my hope is Joe Biden steps down and Kamala steps in. Don't say, Kamala, she's going to keep protecting Israel. She can't be worse than Joe Biden. She can't be. Joe Biden has been so abysmal on this topic. Like, the one good thing about Kamala Harris is that I think she's more prepared to be spineless on this issue and cave to domestic political pressure to, like, stop this completely no strings attached support for Israel. It's crazy. Yeah, and Trump is worse. And RFK Jr. is worse. Like, all of the options in the race right now are terrible when it comes to Israel.